Hello, everyone. Welcome to the last Friday of January 2021. The first month is almost in the books, and to the 48th episode of SADS Facebook Live. I'm so glad you joined us today or on tape. So wherever you are across the globe, welcome. I'm Mike Ackerman, genetic cardiologist from Mayo Clinic and director of our Windland Smith Rice Genetic Heart Rhythm Clinic. And on behalf of my CEO at the SADS Foundation, the Sudden Arrhythmia Death Syndrome Foundation, Alice Laura, who you will soon get to meet right here with me. Thanks for joining us. We've had some incredibly special episodes together for the past almost year now that we've been doing that, and looking forward to this episode. It's a different one, so I'm not going to do questions today, but never fear. Next Friday, February 5th, I think it is. Yes, it's all you. So I'll be taking for the 40 minutes your questions and doing the best that I can to give you good answers and correct answers. So let's get started. We are, remember, still in COVID-19 pandemic. Mask up, do it. Wash your hands. Do it. Stay apart appropriately when necessary, and when it's your turn and it's available to you, get the vaccine. I got mine. I got my second dose on Wednesday, and so when the vaccine is available to you, please get it. There are no concerns about the vaccine for any of our patients who have any of our genetic heart diseases. So it's still a big deal, isn't it? SARS-CoV-2 worldwide, we're approaching 102 million cases, 2.2 million deaths. United States, 25.8 million cases and over 433,000 deaths. The masks work. I don't know if you saw, but there was a study that came out in Mayo Clinic that I think we've done about 20,000 influenza tests and to date, and not a single positive test, which tells you that this works. This works for influenza. Masks work. It also tells us that the SARS-CoV-2 virus is way more contagious than influenza. So we all do our part. Enough of that. Guess what we're doing today? You get to meet the team of the SADS Foundation. I've had the privilege of serving as the president of the board of the SADS Foundation since I think 2006. But since 2002, so now 19 years and counting, we've been led by our chief executive officer, Alice Laura. And here's Alice. Erin, there she is.
Hi.
Who I've referred to for the last year, for the last previous 47 episodes, that this is who this program is because of and on behalf of. Alice, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Great. It's
good to see you.
It's great for our organization to get to meet you, right? And for our SADS Facebook Live community to get to meet your team that you've assembled. So give them a sense of your journey to SADS before we might tell them a little bit more. What is this organization called the SADS Foundation anyway? Because some of our people who are with us, and I see many of you jumped on from UK and Germany, and again, Dana in Ireland. I'm going to get over there someday, Dana. They may not know like our organization itself and the history of it. So you first and then SADS. So how did you get in the first place?
So I actually answered an ad in the newspaper because I was interested in the organization, and I met with Dr. Vincent and the team at the time, and that was in 2002. So I've been with SADS for a very long time. I had been a nurse and a nurse educator, and then I had worked in the nonprofit arena for quite a long time and doing, nonprofit consulting, etc. So it was great. Yeah, it was a perfect fit for me, I thought, and it was very exciting to join an organization that was so dedicated to, the SADS conditions. That
Right.
was
And
very
you
exciting.
mentioned the late Dr. Michael Vincent, and some of our SADS families may not know that he founded the SADS Foundation when again?
He founded it about 10 years before I started. So 1992, the end of 1992, he founded the organization. So it's been a while. Yeah.
And so we're coming on next year, the 30th anniversary of the
It's
SADS.
amazing.
That's incredible. And for those of you who never got to meet him, Dr. Vincent was amazing. He's an adult cardiologist in Salt Lake City, Utah, and had this passion to start an organization devoted to families with long QT syndrome. And with that, Alice, give us a little peek behind the scenes. Is what was that organization like then and now?
So when I started, it was very tiny, had been, and some dedicated staff that were kind of part-time, and they hadn't really had a regular, organization, so to speak, with the executive director and that sort of thing. And so they'd been doing great work and had gotten a lot done for those first 10 years. And then when I started, I basically had to, I guess, build the staff. Was most of them, one of them was pregnant and was leaving, one of them was retiring. So they were kind of all had plans in the 6 months after I started. So I had to assemble the new folks. And then when you really joined us, Mike, I think that was right around that time. Yeah, it was not much of a board. They were, there was 4 people, but 2 of them weren't even in the country, and they weren't doing meetings. And one of them was Dr. Vincent, and one of them was Catherine Timothy. So that
Yeah.
was sort of the beginnings, and then we kind of built it from there.
And I think I joined the board of SADS in 2001, and then you had asked me 4 years after you became the CEO if I would, uh, take on the reins from Dr. Vincent and stepped into his very large shoes. But from those 18 years with you at the helm, we were a really small organization, primarily devoted only to one disease called long QT syndrome. What were sort of the pillars of focus back then compared to what you've grown us to
Mhm.
since then?
Well, I think that what we've always had the same goal, our same basic goals, but like you said, it was really long QT centric, and it was founded there, and it was there. So I think there was some ideas that there's some new things we need to look at that are in our family, and that we should be about more than just long QT syndrome. But they hadn't really done anything about that. So adding those conditions in. And I know Dr. Vincent had some dreams of going around the world and doing um, lots of meetings, but that was also really difficult. So from I think those beginnings, we really needed to look at how do we add the other conditions that really are part of the SADS family, and how do we really implement that and bring that, you get to know people in those conditions. And then also, sort of like you said, it was very tiny. So at some points it was just me, or 2 of us, or it was, and then we just gradually grew. And I think the one year when you became president was a year that I didn't have any development person, and we actually doubled the budget that year. And so that was a huge thing.
Yeah,
And it was then, what, 200,000 maybe at that point, but
right.
it was a big jump. Yeah.
Yeah, we had one of our famous nuns of St. Francis here at Mayo Clinic once said, "No money, no mission. More money, more mission." And certainly that was the case where we were, uh, you know, as my mom would say, champagne taste on a beer budget.
Totally.
And
Totally.
it's been very different. And for those on the side, I do need to take a pause. And Dana, congrats. First place on our 10K marathon race. I just saw that on the sidebar. Way to go. That's strong.
Yes.
But back to you, Alice. So we're not just long QT syndrome. And I see on the sidebar some of the families, long QT syndrome is probably still our largest market share of
Mhm.
families. But for those of you out there with Brugada syndrome, this is your home.
Right.
CPVT, this is your home. Timothy syndrome, we love having you here. ARVC is probably the newest member, or arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy, or ACM, arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy. Those probably, long QT, Brugada, CPVT, and ARVC, are probably the four largest patient populations that we try to serve. And whatever the name of their genetic heart disease is, Alice, what are the biggest things that we do at the SADS Foundation for them?
So I think the number one thing that we've always done, and we did before I got here, that is really patients and family support, talking to people, helping them learn about their condition, helping them meet other people that have that same ARVC or long QT syndrome, and even sometimes have a 9-year-old child, the same. And so I think that's always been SAD's number one. And it continues to be that. And we individually, personally talk to people on the phone, we email people, so there's just lots of ways where we connect and try and provide that education. And then with this fabulous program, that you are really a huge piece of, we can directly every week come to people and they can ask questions. So I think that's the next level. It's been amazing. Yeah, and I think the next thing that I would really like to say is the medical piece of that. So we have an amazing scientific advisory group from all over the world who have, when I first started, we had Dr. Vincent had assembled a lot of them, but I didn't know them and they didn't know me, and it took me almost a year to really talk to all of them because they didn't know me, and I had to sometimes wait at the end of their talk and go to meet them. But now, they are so amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's the second rung, and with you really being that leader that we can call on to ask, what do all of you see in your country and how do you treat these patients? And so I think that's a huge strength, that the experts of the world are really working for our families.
Yeah, and I like how you say that the families, the ones who are joining us live right now, the ones who will watch this tape, and all the ones that have come in contact to the SADS over the year, they're the bullseye, right? They're the center of the SADS Foundation universe, and everything we do is to try to meet their needs directly, immediately, and indirectly by improving the quality of care in the physician community of those who will ultimately be the ones that are taking care of the patients.
Mm-hmm.
But first is the patient. Everything you do, everything we say about in the board's meeting, right, is what are the needs of our patients and their families with genetic heart diseases? Are we meeting those needs? How can we do those better? And so I think you've kept our eye on the prize and staying incredibly focused on that question. Are we meeting the needs of our SADS families?
That's absolutely right. And I do think you're absolutely right that, as we all know, and as certainly the individuals know that are with us today, if you don't have a physician that understands, then you're not getting that kind of care. And that is really important to us, is trying to get the word out, to get the newest research to say, this is the quality of care that our families deserve. And here's, the papers behind it, and here's the experts you can talk to. And, because we know you can't always go in every town in even the US, find a cardiologist that understands our conditions. And that's right, because we're still small compared to what their practice is.
And I think when Dr. Vincent founded the SADS organization, there was no awareness of long QT syndrome. What is even this thing that's killing people sometimes or often? And back then, 30 years ago, it was viewed that these genetic heart diseases, one, we didn't even know they were genetic for sure in 1992. We assumed that, but the genetic discovery didn't actually happen until 1995. But at that time, I know Dr. Vincent, the goal was increase awareness about these conditions, which we still do. Try to do a better job of treating them because it seemed like these were spooky, dangerous, awful diseases. But then we made a change under your leadership, and when I became the organization's second president, we said we're not going to just live with these conditions; we're going to thrive despite these conditions, these diagnoses. And you and I really have done the live and thrive part. Talk about what you've seen over these last almost 20 years with you at the helm of the living and thriving part of our, I think that's our vision statement or mission.
Mhm.
I always get those
Yes.
mixed up, mission and vision, but
Yeah, it's part of the mission statement for sure. And I think the big change is, like you say, that we are looking at how do you learn to live, and knowing that you can, and knowing that it's not a death sentence for sure, and that you can live a normal life, and you understand your body, and you understand what you can do, and you learn, what you can or can't do. And I think that's been a huge push, that physicians get more comfortable with that, which is a huge part because of the work that you've been doing, to say, is this really true? Because I think the physicians want to keep their patients safe, and they were worried about treating people that they didn't really understand the disease for sure. So they wanted to really be, like you
right,
always say, Marcus Welby, MD, or whomever, like telling people this is what you have to do.
right.
And I think with your work, we've realized what is the truth and what is really the facts behind it, and that people can live. So I think that's huge.
And speaking of living and thriving, I see on the sidebar another update from Catherine. Long QT received her first ICD 20 years ago. Catherine training for her 9th marathon to celebrate her 70th birthday this year. So happy early birthday and best wishes on your marathon, and way to go. That is living large. So I like that. Um, what's our vision for tomorrow as you sort of take us into the next chapter of SADS Foundation? What's sort of the big 1, 2, 3 that you want to say, check, 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 we did this going forward?
Right. I think even becoming closer to the individual SADS communities that can be formed from around the world. So to look at what's the ARBC community and their really specific needs, and what's the CPVT, and et cetera. And we've really been working on that. And I think we will continue to do that, so that we can say, what do they need that is maybe a little bit different than what, Brugada syndrome needs, that sort of thing. I think that's a big piece of what we want to do going forward. And I also think that we want to be able to get everybody, or those communities, to know themselves, to say, what are we like, and how many of us can run marathons or not, or how many of us, to continue that work of looking at learning about who we are, and what can happen. And then I think the third thing that we've been doing, and that I'd like, we will continue, and hopefully into the future, and that is really looking at how can we help with the research? How can we promote that? How can we help with your clinic and your research lab and all the other researchers, and really breed that bridge with the people, that families that are enrolled, that make it all possible, and then the physicians that need to learn about it. Here is the new standard of care. Here's the new thing, because I think all of us are looking at, what's the next thing? How can we make this better?
Right. And I know, and I'm so excited about the future of the SADS Foundation and the future of your conditions out there. We are going to get better and better and better at diagnosing your condition before it ever strikes, at treating your condition better than we ever have. So I think our best days are definitely in front of us. Now, Alice, 20 years ago, honestly, you were a one-woman show for our organization. You did everything. But that's not the way it is now in 2020.
No,
You've assembled
no.
a beautiful team. of amazing women, and they happen to be women.
They are.
And we're going to have the Wizard of Oz of our SADS Facebook Live bring the entire team on, and I want to introduce each of them to our SADS Facebook Live community. So, Erin, do your magic.
Yay!
Wow!
Yay!
I don't know how you do all of that, Erin, but I'm glad. I'll stay in my own. And I'll just let you keep doing your amazing work. Well, this is the team of the SADS Foundation, everyone. Alice, Laura, our CEO, who we've been visiting with, and I'll have them wave. Marcia Baker, our program director for the SADS Foundation. Jan Schiller, our director of development. Remember, we said in the past when we were shoestrings budget, there was no Jan. And you'll get to know Jan and her role. Erin Wade, our technology coordinator in social media, SADS Facebook Live, and she'll tell you all the other things. And our newest member, Anna Goodson, communications coordinator. So welcome to all of you. And now our SADS Facebook Live community, when you say SADS Foundation, this is the SADS Foundation. And so each one of you, welcome. And each one of you, I'm going to start. And let's see, eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, Mo, Marcia.
Hi, Mike.
Marcia. So, Marcia, tell us a little bit about your journey from here to there and how you ended up with SADS, what your role is with our organization. And then I'll follow up with a question or two.
Okay. I have been with SADS for a couple years, but I have been in the heart non-profit management world for 35 plus years.
Wow.
My career, formerly with American Heart Association, and then Mended Hearts, a patient support group, and then the SADS Foundation. And I've known Alice for 10 years. We were both members of the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Coalition for several years. And so that's how I got to know SADS, was from that experience with Alice.
That's great. Now, you did mention that you've been in the American Heart world or the heart world in the nonprofit for 35 years. So just for everybody's math, Marcia started when she was 5.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that.
So, Marcia, I'll come back to you and what is kind of the role of the program director, but I'm going to introduce each one. Meeny, miny, Jan Schiller. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got to SADS and a bit about your story.
Alrighty. Well, I come from a background of 2 degrees, one in public relations and one in elementary education. I lived in both larger towns and bigger cities. Obviously, in smaller towns, there was no public relations, so I taught school while living in smaller towns. But I've been doing fundraising now for more than 20 years. It's hard to believe because I'm only 38. And I came to the SADS Foundation about 7.5 years ago. I had seen, like similar to Alice, had seen a job opening posted, and some of the families know this because I've been around quite a while, but I lost my husband when I was in my 30s. It wasn't to a SADS condition, it was to something else, but I definitely had a lot of empathy for those who had lost people who were way too young in their lives. And it's just so wonderful to be able to work with our SADS families. When it comes to fundraising, our biggest support comes from our families. So they're just truly inspirational. They're learning about their condition, they're managing their condition, they're living and thriving, and they're also supporting the SADS Foundation so we can support other families like them. So I just feel really, really privileged to be a part of this organization and work both with and for our families.
Great, thanks, Jan. Erin, they've heard your name since February. So now let them actually know who is Erin Wade, our technology coordinator.
I hear my name every week, and I feel like I'm just a ghost to everybody, but I am the technology coordinator. I maintain, update, manage all the technology stuff for SADS, like SADS Live, our virtual conference that we had in November, a lot of our webinars. It's been great. My background is well, technology. I've always fell in love with it, and I have a big passion for it. Bringing it to SADS has been a great honor for me. I'm sad. I came to SADS because my sister-in-law, we lost her when she had SIDS. So when I heard about SADS Foundation that had an opening, I jumped right on it. It means dear to me.
Thanks, Erin. You grew up where? What's home world?
I am born and raised in Utah. My family is actually from Laos. English is my second language, guys, believe it or not.
No way.
Mhm.
Well, your English is actually better than mine, so you're amazing. Well, great. And our newest member, so last but not least, it was eeny, meeny, miny, is Anna. And see her name, you might see her name there, ANNA, and you might think you say Anna, but it's not. I learned that. It's Anna. Anna, since I hardly even know you, since you're our newest, I get to learn about you with our SADS Facebook Live community.
And Anna has been so amazing because we haven't even met Anna. We interviewed her on Zoom, right? Erin met her briefly to give her laptop, but all the rest of it, so she's been a huge part of the team without even meeting us. It's great. Sorry, Anna, I just had to say that.
I'm Anna, and I joined in November, so I am by far the newest member of the SADS team. I'm originally from Michigan, and my background is in writing and storytelling. So I have a degree in English and a master's in creative writing. And I always wanted to use my writing and storytelling background to help make an impact. So when I saw that SADS had an opening, I was super excited, and I'm really, really happy to be here and have this job and work with this amazing team and get to meet all of these community members. I love interacting with the community and getting to hear and help tell your stories. So that's been my favorite part of the job so far, is meeting everybody in the community.
Well, we will take full advantage of your talents in storytelling. And I can tell you, Anna, having been the privilege of caring for these families for many years, you will have amazing stories that you get to tell on behalf of them and with them, because these families are absolutely amazing. So I'm looking forward to reading your first official story that you do. Marcia, can you give them a sense of what programs you're busy with for the SADS Foundation in 2021, and kind of what's your vision with respect to programs that are under your watch, whether it's educating physicians or any other activities? What's kind of on your program watch list that you've created?
Okay. We've been very active in planning and implementing webinars for our families. The Living with SADS series of webinars, we're conducting these, one on each condition of SADS. We started in January. We've had 5 so far, and then in February we're going to continue, and throughout maybe March too, on other topics once we finish the conditions too. So also planning and implementing some medical education webinars. You know, we've converted all of our in-person kinds of meetings to digital, so everything is via webinar right now. And so we're looking to a couple medical education for physicians, for nurses, for genetic counselors on managing our SADS conditions and appropriate treatment and so on, so we can keep our experts, in the loop and knowing what's coming up.
And I think, Marcia, if we say that COVID-19 pandemic in the last 12 months has been a wow and maybe a tough year, I think there's been some silver linings, if you will. And it's hard to say that when I just started the program saying that there's been over 2 million COVID deaths worldwide. But you mentioned webinars. We're almost 30 years old as an organization, and I think this is like a SADS first to do it in this kind of concentrated, dedicated way. And that was birthed out of really the pandemic, wouldn't you say?
The need to do that virtually, especially with our conference last November. But I think the silver lining is we're able to engage so many more families and health professionals in our programs. We've had wonderful turnout for our Living with SADS series. We had a wonderful turnout for our virtual conference last November. So I think we're actually being able to get the word out and education out to more people.
Yeah. I mean,
digitally.
we definitely have touched more lives in this virtual way and have tried it. Even though we're socially distanced, we've always said we're trying to stay intimately connected during this time. So thanks for what you do, Marcia. I think the programs you've created and have spearheaded have been fantastic. And some of you might have noticed, I haven't even done many of those programs, and that's a new day for the SADS Foundation. I used to do almost all of them. And so to tap into the global talent that we have, and to have our colleagues do those is true succession and success when things become more and more or less and less dependent on one or two people. So thanks for that, Marcia.
Exactly.
Jan, none of this happens for free.
No.
And you have enabled these programs to get built and to get expanded and to have our outreach go global and all of that because, like Alice said before you, we were barely a $200,000 a year nonprofit organization. We've grown more, but we probably need to grow even more money, more mission, as I mentioned, the nuns. What have you seen or encouraged you about expanding our mission because of more benefactors or more philanthropy being directed towards the SADS Foundation? We must be doing something right that are meeting the needs that are out there, that more money is coming in.
Yeah, well, we're fortunate to have several venues of funds coming in. Like I said, most of it does come from our families, and we are so grateful for them. They do anything from just making a donation to doing a volunteer fundraising event for us, to doing a Facebook fundraising event for us. We've definitely had to go virtual this past year. We've had a few volunteer fundraising events that they were still able to hold because they could be safe, COVID safe while doing it. So we've been very grateful for our individuals. We also get money from corporations who help to sponsor things like those webinars Marcia was talking about and our conference and whatnot. And some appreciate the patient advocacy that we do and support that also. And then we have some foundations that support us in the programs we're doing. But because there's ever-growing needs and we're meeting more and more families with these conditions and more families are being diagnosed and therefore going to be able to live and thrive, that fundraising needs to keep growing also. The more money, more mission that your men friend said is so true. We run lean and mean. Nonprofits have to meet a percentage that's administrative and fundraising, and they can't go over that. We're always way below it. The money is going to our programs, going to our services, which means it's going to our families. And just having families come on board and help us out by asking their friends and family, let us know of your workplaces that may be willing to give or match your donations. Just all of those things continue to help us to be able to serve all of our families. And of course, we're doing a lot of things virtually this past year that we hadn't done in the past. We had an amazing comedy improv night that helped us to celebrate a matching campaign we were doing. And so we've continued to build our base and learn new ways to do things through COVID.
Right. Thanks, Jan. And it's www.sads.org. And there's this little button right in the top right corner that says donate now. So you can feel free to do that. But more seriously than that, each of you out there and whatever is your circle of influence, if you haven't been blessed with wealth beyond measure, you might be one or two people away from somebody you know who has been. and connect them. If this is of passion to you, they may want to acquire that passion on your behalf and give on behalf. So always feel free to connect us with potentially new philanthropic leads. We have a few more minutes. Erin, maybe one of the highlights is how you brought us into the, I guess, the social media footprint. Tell us a little bit about things. Maybe give them a thing of the incredible success that SADS Facebook Live has been. And because of you, I just show up. You do everything. So give them a little sneak peek about what your oversight has been in establishing kind of a social media footprint for our organization.
Yeah, when I started, we didn't have much of social media, and I thought that was an outreach that needed to be worked on, which I'm happy that now with Facebook Live, which is now SADS Live, we're now live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, so we can reach everyone in the world. That I think that has helped a lot with a lot of engagement and the information out there. Social media-wise, wow, we've almost tripled thanks to our community. People following us, our information's out there now, and I'm so proud that people can see everything we have to help them and contact us so they're not alone. So, yeah.
And Anna, I know you've only been with us for 2.5 months, so it's probably a little too early. But could you maybe give our SADS Facebook community maybe a sneak teaser preview of a couple types of stories that you are working on or might want to be telling in the near future?
Absolutely. So we have Heart Month coming up starting on Monday. So that is the beginning of February. And we'll be telling your guys' stories throughout the month. We'll be having a dedicated email halfway through the month that's just a story about some awareness campaigns that are going on. But the best way for me to tell stories is to hear your guys' stories. So you can always feel free to contact either my email or the SADS email with your story, and we can work together to tell it and get it out there where it can help all the SADS families, and you can tell the world what you've been through.
And is your email available for them so that they could connect to tell the story?
Yes, absolutely. Erin, could you put that in the comment section? Thank you.
That's great. Well, I think, Alice, you have an amazing team. You've been an amazing partner in your leadership for our organization for going on 2 decades now. We'll be celebrating next year, 2022, the 30th year of our organization and the 20 years of Alice as our CEO. And I always like to say that I always hope that our best years are in front of us and are never in the rearview mirror. And may that be true for the SADS Foundation, and may it be true for each of your lives as you join us. Next week, Friday, February 5th, it's entirely your program out there with your questions. And I'd like to just invite Amy back. I couldn't help but see this question on the sidebar from Amy, who's 29 with type 1 long QT. Will you join us next week, Amy? But if you can't because you're busy, I can't wait to hear that you have started your family and have become pregnant and are having your first child. It is going to be amazing for you. You do not have to be nervous. I take care of hundreds and hundreds, if not now thousands, of young women with long QT syndrome who have produced beautiful babies, some with long QT, some without long QT, about half and half. So there may be reasons to be anxious about being a mom or a dad. I certainly had reasons, and they have nothing to do with long QT. But don't let long QT be a reason that's making you nervous. Your pregnancy, your labor and delivery, and you will be an amazing mom. I can tell already without even knowing you, just by your heart desire to have children. Speaking of children, this is my granddaughter. Can you believe that on Twitter, some people said congratulations about your grandson?
Oh no!
Yeah, that is Jade, and she just I'm a 1-year-old grandfather now.
Oh.
The birthday was yesterday. And so some of you on the SADS Facebook have actually seen her grow up with her every week or every other week. Okay, maybe I skip a week sometimes and have seen her grow up this year. So with that, Alice, Marcia, Jan, Erin, and Anna, you guys are amazing. Keep up the great work. Our mission is clear. Our mission is important. Our mission of SADS Foundation is not just life-saving, but it's life-giving. So thanks for all that you do. And everyone out there, I can't wait to take your questions next week. See everyone.
Thanks,
Everybody.
Thank
Mike.
you.
Bye.
Bye.